So they'll be calling you a radical. Somebody says, why are you doing these videos with your shirt off? Because I want a record. You know, thank God I did videos with the central line hanging out because the trolls in the nuclear industry viciously attacking me. I want evidence when they attack me while I'm in critical condition. You know, thank God I did videos in the bone marrow with a central line hanging out of my jugular. There were literally dozens of YouTube sites and Facebook pages by the NEI, and which is funded by the Department of Energy, attacking me. Oh, he faked his own. Oh, yeah, I faked it. So I'm in a bone marrow transplant. I sucked up to 119 pounds with a central line hanging on my jugular. Yeah, he faked it. Yeah, that's why I got this freaking wound across the center of my chest. You know, I want historical records of this. You know, they're not going to go along with this forever. At some point, you know, it's going to be historical documents. They're going to look back, say, look, this dude was all over it. He was right the first time. What they did to him, you know, in this condition. So I was in the hospital today, and you can't believe they sent me, you know, it's a different doctor to the same office, but my cardiologist, and they put me in the exact identical room. It's like going back to the scene of the crime. So he walks in, and I'm like, boy, did Colorado blow it. Well, I wouldn't go that far. What do you mean you wouldn't go that far? I sit right in this room multiple times. He says, I read through all the notes. And then he goes on, he says, I got to tell you, what you've been through is unbelievable. He says, I was expecting to walk in here and seeing you, you know, in a wheelchair or whatever. He says, these surgeries were both of them vicious, and everything you've been through, I can't believe it. I'm like, yeah, all caused by, you know, doctors won't listen to me when I'm sitting in this exact room telling my cardiologist, who's maintaining my valve that they replaced. It was a birth defect I was born with. My perfectly beautiful heart, that my valve's going, shooting down my left arm, and they're ignoring it, blowing it off. Huh. You know, and he went on. He says, it truly is a miracle you're alive. Yeah. You know, the valve blew out at the top of it on Christmas Eve morning. It was like, I didn't want to go to the emergency room on Christmas Eve, and I gutted it out. And it happened again on New Year's Day. Brutal. I don't know how it didn't kill me. And then I still had to fight. So I got in on the 3rd, because the 2nd's a holiday, to my general practitioner at McKay, you know, the Porter Clinic, and a new kid, and I'm like, I had to argue with him, which I've been arguing with them for years. Oh, it's neuropathy. He was sure it was neuropathy. He really was. And he says, what about a stress test? He says, yeah, I'm going to schedule one right now. I says, it'd be irresponsible not to. I'll just get it done in the next 3 weeks. I walked from the hospital to the university like I had to stop 5 times. I called him. He says, we'll get you in tomorrow night. I remember he laid the EKGs over top of each other, this young Dr. Hansen. That's 2 Hansens to save me. And he's like, this is new. So the heart attack fried my entire electrical system out to where I have a pacemaker for the rest of my life now. My perfectly good electric, it was perfect. My artery that comes out of the valve up into the perfect, gone. They had to cut one out of my leg and bypass it. You know, so I haven't heard from Dana yet today. They're moving him to the hospital. His heart attack is serious shit. When they take a week to stabilize him before he can move. So he said the same thing Dr. Goff said. All that incredible physical conditioning you've done for all those years saved your life. And he says, yeah, money in the bank. But my Natural weight's probably in the 160s. I was 138 at surgery. Just ripped apart for 4 months, and I'm screaming, and no one will. And he's got the nerve to tell me. I says, well, I was uninsured. Oh, we treat the uninsured the same as the insured. I started to laugh. I said, tote the company line. That's not true, and I'm living proof. So I'm on day 28 of my recovery. I got a ways to go. And so we fight on. The nuclear industry, they keep attacking me viciously. This whole time, I got sick in 2011 with AML, given 2 months to live in a bone marrow transplant center with a central line, which, by the way, it's felonies to attack someone like that. Which, dozens of Facebook pages, dozens of YouTube said, most of them are gone now. 100% to do nothing but slander Kevin Blanch. Those are felonies and all. If that happened to anybody else, they're to be held to pay. No, they can do anything they want to. Us anti-nukers. They're the violent ones. I don't believe in violence. I've done all this historic, incredible work while sick, by fighting, with, I had to go grassroots, with a small, teeny, tiny group of people that fund my work, just enough to, I don't know how I've done it. Get by with a little help from it's historic work. And I was right the whole time. I hypothesized these are full-blown out meltdowns. They're lying. I couldn't even convince anybody it was one meltdown, let alone 3, let alone the Mox fuel blown ever, which I knew it was. Everybody laughed at me. Gundershield called it a hydrogen blast for 7 years. Caldecott told me right to my face, Kevin, at her in 2015. It's 4 years after the fact that I couldn't use the F word at her anti-nuclear proposal. Go ask Noam Chomsky. He was standing right next to me when she told me that. I told Helen, I'm a butcher, what's a cow? I'm a baker, what's a cake? I'm an anti-nuclear, what's Fukushima? And laughed. She grinned when I said that. Busby said the Pacific Ocean was a big place that would dilute. On TV, oh my God. So insane, all of this. How this is played out. I hypothesized that it was going to break the chain. The tide pools would go first. My work on the salmon. Tide pools went first. Everything I said came to fruition. You're not going to be able to measure it because it's an energy that's never happened before. We've never had full core meltdowns, and they've never gotten NISM. Their answer's been to dump water on it, which the water seeps right directly into the Pacific Ocean. Again, I will quote Lake Bear to Leslie Stahl on day almost 3,000 at the Fukushima disaster. Well, Lake, this is like going to the moon fixing this. Way bigger than that. This has never happened before. Play back the tape, Your Honor. Where's it at? See the Pacific Ocean? See those holes? They've never got near these cores. There were not core meltdowns at Chernobyl. There was one partially core that blew up, partially fueled, graphite on a new reactor. They entombed it. 780,000 men. Santa Susana, these new scale little monsters, Idaho National Lab, 3 Mile Island, bad disasters that they just lied. But they're nothing compared to Fukushima. MOX fuel, the biggest load of MOX fuel probably on Earth, one of them, we made MOX fuel against the law here in the U.S. And just like the decommission of Diablo, everybody's talking about the money. That's one thing we got right, us as activists back then. The money is put aside. All the money to decommission every single one of these reactors by law is sitting in a risk-free account, treasury bill. The money's sitting there. You as the taxpayer will fork not 1 penny to decommission any of these reactors. The money's sitting there. They just lie because it's a cash cow. 80 years of this nuclear lie, and we're still going to lie. And you're trying to tell me there's no byproduct for 3 full core meltdowns into the ocean. It's the greatest mental illness in history. Why are we so afraid of nuclear meltdowns until they happen? And it's see no nuclear energy, or hear no nuclear energy, Chica. And talk about a metaphor with my shirt on, my chest split open. The nuclear energy emperors Oh, they have no fucking clothes. They have no soul. They're evil. They're the tobacco industry times 10. Remember the tobacco industry marching on the hill, just lie, 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 lie. That's what this country does. It's like, oh, we got scientists that just lie, 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 lie. You think this is any different? It's a cash cow. The Department of Energy was created 100% by the nuclear. That's what it used to be called. Jeff Bezos' grandpa, Geist, was the original spokesman. It was 100% created in the 40s to promote nuclear energy. Nuclear bombs. Nuclear. Then they passed a law in the 1950s called Price-Anderson Immunity Act. What's that? Any money you get in nuclearism, you can't sue them when they rip you off. NuScale, freaking Bechtel, freaking all of them. It goes to the American taxpayer. And in 2005, when we're busy bombing Iraqis who never laid a finger on us, they re-up Price-Anderson for another 20 years, Congress. It's a cash cow by the... We're not talking millions. We're talking trillions. For instance, Diablo Canyon, $4.4 million a day for that nuclear dump site, and those reactors that California doesn't use, just the California taxpayer alone is paying a day. That's not talking federal subsidies. That's not talking bailouts. That's what they pay a day. For something we do not use. Wind and solar, and I can give you thousands of examples, is just going crazy. I mean, wind and solar, it's just... Meanwhile, what is the nuclear industry? They spend all their money on propaganda. Now, I want you to think about this. If 1/10 of this money had been spent on... If 1/10 of this money had been spent on wind and solar that's spent on the Nuclear Energy Crime Center, the wind and solar thesis would be 30 years advanced from where it is today. There would be no energy crisis. The answer is solar. And this whole narrative that somehow wind is killing whales is total bullshit. They're starving to death. And the acute collapse started in 2011. The oceans and the ecology of this globe was doing fine in 2010. The Pacific humpback had come off the endangered list. The tide pools were teeming with life. We had record numbers of salmon. Records. That's unarguable. We don't count dead tide pools. Oh, Kevin Blanch does. We don't count dead humans in bone marrow transplant units. Oh, Kevin Blanch does. Oh, but we count every single salmon. Not only by number have they radically, epically collapsed, steelhead collapsed, 2011, 2012. They go to sea for 1 to 2 years. I says, record numbers in 2011, 2012, 13, 14. Everybody's laughing at me. Saw with my own eyes, man. I says, they'll collapse in 2016, the Chinook. They go to sea for 5 years. There's your smoking gun. Oh, they collapsed in 2016. Not even just by number, by weight. They've gotten skinny, small. I mean, that Tim Martin interview with the native elder on the Klamath there, he's like saying, Fukushima, look how skinny are they're floating. But we ignore. It's all about money. So, we fight on. I'll quote the doctor that saw me today. What you been through? He says, this is an absolute miracle you're alive. And there's no repercussions in the state of Utah. Good luck trying to sue a hospital, even though they've done permanent damage. When you're telling your cardiologist, right, who's scheduled, who's sending you a bill for the valve they replaced in 2017. I was born with a heart murmur. Every time they get in my heart, they're like, oh my God, I can't believe how clean and beautiful that heart is. Not now. You're telling them for months. Play back the tape, Your Honor. It's burning in that valve. It's shooting down my left arm. It's numbness. No. You're done. And then they send you back after this whole nightmare to the exact room, the identical room. I mean, talk about facial. There's no sentence. I mean, where I done my sentence and I committed no crime. I used to say in the bone marrow transplant, this is like being on prison in the bone marrow transplant, on death row for a crime you did not commit. But prison's got to have way better food than you, so it's outrageous. I don't even have a car. I don't have shit, and take on the nuclear energy in this is the greatest PhD in human history, the work I've done. My tide pool work alone at low tide, historically up and down that entire coast. Those are all historically low tides. Raw footage. Nobody else has done that. Even what's his name at the Monterey Aquarium says, Kevin, those videos of yours are epic. Nobody would believe you. We all believe you now. We can run regression. We have all the information now. We can run regression. Take the bias out. It's an outlier. The greatest outlier in human history. 2011. Stand tuned.